All right, little man, this video is for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to add to your Roblox game in-app purchases using developer products. So developer products, as we discovered, are products that you can buy in-game that only last for the duration of your game session. So they're not like game passes where they're permanently on the account. This is something that will go away after the user disconnects from the game, or I think gets destroyed or something like that. So the first thing we want to do is actually create the developer product. So here I'm on your Roblox account page, and we're going to click on Create. And then we have our games that we've created. We're going to go ahead and click the game we're working on, Medieval Mayhem. And then we're going to go to Developer Products. Here's where we can create new developer products. And basically a developer product is just a name and a price, and it will return to us an ID. We're going to need that ID to put it into the game. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new one here. I'll call it Mega Shield. And the best shield in the game. And Daddy needs to know how to actually spell. And let's make this 10 Robux. We can also associate an image with it by choosing File if we want to go in and actually use one of the images that we've been creating. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit Create. Now we have two developer products. We have our Light Sword and we have our Mega Shield. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this ID by just highlighting it. Just double left click this and then right click and click Copy. Now we have the ID of that product. Now let's dive into Roblox Studios. Oh, of course, Roblox Studios is now updating. Let's dive into Roblox Studios, and we're going to go ahead and open up Medieval Mayhem, which is the game we're working on. And I discovered too, you don't need to open up this secondary copy and overwrite it. We can work directly on the already published game and just publish updates to it from this, which is kind of cool. So once we're in the vast universe of Medieval Mayhem, all the different terrains that you've generated are there. Whoa, look at that big city. Now we want to do a couple things, and here's where it gets fun. So we need to actually correlate that product to an actual some type of digital asset. So the first thing is we need to add in this little window over here, this Explorer window. This is where we have all of the pieces of the game, right? Everything you see on screen here lives within this Explorer window, right? You can see here if we drop down this workspace, there are tons of things in here from the various pieces of information we've put into this 3D world. But there's a couple other places that are important when we're talking about buying things. So the first thing is server storage. This is where we're going to put the actual asset, or the object, right, that we're going to letting the players buy. Right now, players can buy a sword of light. But we want to go ahead and add some type of Mega Shield. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to grab anything here from the actual list of things already in the game. But you can go to like the marketplace and go ahead and grab a sword or a shield. Do we already have some type of shield in here? We probably do, right? Oh, I don't see one. So I'm just gonna see if I can. Oh, here we go. Hyrulean Shield. We already have it there. So I'm going to go ahead and right click this and go copy. And then I'm going to go ahead and paste it, right click this and paste it into server storage. So now we have a Sword of Light and the Hyrulean Shield in the server storage location of our Explorer window. So now with that in place, we can go ahead and we need to add an actual button to be able to fire off the actual script. So if we go into another folder, there's Starter GUI, and then we have this Screen GUI. And we're just using these simple buttons to kind of play around with this. We have this purchase button. This purchase button is just for the light sword. But if we go ahead and create a new button, I'm going to go ahead and right click this and say, how do we do this? We're going to go insert part. No, I don't want to insert a part. I'm going to hit the plus button here. Okay, so we're not going to right click. We're just going to hit the plus button and go type button. It's going to be a text button. We'll call this text button. We can right click this and say rename. And we'll call this text button, I'm going to call it purchase shield. Okay, and now we don't have to create another local script. We already have one here. So the local script is any piece of code that can operate on the actual local player of the game. Remember, this is a multiplayer game, so you can have multiple people connected at once. So this local script is something that runs just specific to the individual player. That means that we can act on individual actions of the player. Now, before we actually dive into the local script, this button here is just this, white boring button. Let's go ahead and resize it, align it with this button, and let's go ahead and say buy Mega Shield. All right, cool. So now we have two buttons, but now how do we distinguish between when one is clicked and the other is clicked? We could still use the same local script. So let's go ahead and double left click on this, and this is going to give us some scary looking code, but it's really simple. Right? All we're doing is we're using this idea of variables. So we have this button variable and this MP service variable. And then on the button itself, we're basically listening for a click, right? We're listening for an event. And when the click happens, a function is being executed. And that function then executes the code we put within it. And this little line of code right here basically kicks off the purchase process. So this is code that's already included in the game development studio that we're using right here, which is mega convenient. So what we need to do in order to actually get this to work is define a new button. So we would say local, we can call it button 2, whatever we want, equals script, which is this script. And then we need to call the parent of this script, because right now this script is sitting within the screen GUI. So if we go parent, that means we're talking about this component here, and then we can grab anything that's underneath it. So I'm going to say dot parent dot purchase shield, and look how it kind of auto completes for us because it knows it's there, which is really nice. So now if we comment this, we can say this is our purchase button for the next product. Okay, so now what we can do is we can use this button to do the same exact thing we're doing here. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this, bring this down here, and instead of button, we're going to do button 2. Right? And now instead of this ID, we're going to put in the ID of the Mega Shield. And I think I'm spelling shield again. So this is why, Daddy, it doesn't teach you English. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this. And then rename this. So that I keep hitting Control S. And okay, now we have this ID in the button 2, which is the purchase shield button, and this will actually execute the purchase of the actual shield. Now it's not going to actually give it to the player yet, right? So it's going to prompt it and allow them to purchase it, but it won't actually give it to the player. That's where we have to listen for a receipt. So this is where we go into our server script service area and we click process receipt. Here is where we need to use a concept called a conditional statement. Conditional statements allow us to do things, basically say if then, right? So if this happens, then do this. If, I have $10, then buy this. If I, you know, walk 10 steps, then jump type of thing, right? We could do different conditional kind of decision making right within the actual program. So we have this if purchase product ID equals this, then local new sword equals sword clone, and then new sword.parent equals player.backpack, right? So this is where we're actually putting the product right within the player's backpack. And we're using the same exact ideas of variables and functions again, right? So up here we're saying the sword is equal to the game server storage, Sword of Light, and the MP service is equal to the marketplace service, which is just code that's shipped with us already from Roblox Studio, which is awesome. And then we're saying when this service has the event of process receipt, call this function. And conveniently, this function gives us this little variable here that contains all of the purchase info that the user just purchased. So in that purchase info is the product ID they purchased, which is the product ID of the developer product here. So we can do a conditional statement to say, hey, if the purchase product ID equals the ID that they just bought, then let's clone the sword and then put it in their backpack, or clone the shield. So in this case, we're going to create a new variable called local shield. And why am I having such a brain is like horrible when it comes to spelling shield. Shield equals game.server storage, right? So this is where we can kind of navigate this hierarchy by saying game, which is the top level, dot server storage, which is going right here, and then we can reference this shield right here, right? Dot, and I'm curious, there's a space in the name of this. I wonder if that's going to be a problem. We may have to rename that, because I would think it'd have to be high. Let's see how this handles this. Ah, okay, look at that. It puts it in a nice little bracket when there's a space instead of just doing straight dot. So I would think, so you can, this is cool because you can index this as almost like an array, but you can also use it almost like what we call an object using dot notation. So this is two different ways to actually get at the objects that are sitting within this tree. Now that we have the shield, we can use an else if. And quite honestly, this is Lua, so I'm not super familiar with the syntax here, but if we do else if purchase ID, then, and then it's going to end the if here, and then we want to clone, right? I'm going to just copy those lines, and we'll call this new shield equals shield clone, and then new shield. So I'm just going to copy and paste this. Except I'm using a little copy and paste techniques to make it a little quicker. And then I keep going to save. I wonder if I'm doing this correctly with opening this version, because it's trying to save it to a weird location here. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to Control Z all of this and have you do it. So now we should have everything in place to be able to actually purchase this backpack, or purchase this shield. So let's see. If I go ahead and say play, let's see if we get any errors. So that's cool. It let us purchase it, but it didn't actually give the user the actual shield. So why is that? I don't really know what that Hyrulean shield is. But I'll leave it here, and we can play around with this. Oh, did I not? Oh, look at that. I didn't change this ID. So let's go ahead and grab this. This ID needs to be the Hyrulean Shield. And shield clone. Okay, cool. So that was probably the issue. See, my conditional statement didn't have the right ID. So let's go ahead and try that one more time, and then I'll stop this video because it's going a little longer than I want it to go here. That is looking good. All right, so now you are standing right behind me. I'm going to stop recording this video, and I'm not going to save any of this. I want you to go in and follow what I did. I know you can do it, dude. Have fun.